Thank you, John, so much for taking this time to talk. And I do have some questions that I thought out and thought that would be important for us all here to know. Uh, I was actually going to start just talking about you surfing and us having here like 2 feet of snow on the ground still. That's quite
You
a
really do.
yes. We're
That,
still
that's
yeah.
terrible. Yeah, the water was 85 degrees. At Celsius, that'd be, I don't know, what would that be, 27 or 28 degrees, I guess. That was the water temperature in Sri Lanka. It was just absolutely lovely. But it's very, very pleasant here.
Well, I'm not complaining about this here. It's just different, and I wonder how the climate could possibly. What difference would that make for filmmakers if they realize that there is still snow on the ground in April? What would Hollywood filmmakers think about this? And
Well, filming, as you know, has nothing to do with pleasant weather. It has everything to do with the demands of the script. So there are plenty of scripts that demand snow throughout from beginning to end, and other scripts that have to have snow during part of it. So if you're um, cheating Montana in the winter or some other place, and you're actually shooting at one location, but you need to have snow at another location, then it's a real advantage to have snow for long periods of time, so people can come and film at your location. Today, filmmakers are really global in their pursuit because there are better deals, there are financial incentives to go to different places, and you want to shoot within a certain period of time. You don't want to have to pay for keeping your crew and cast alive in a remote location somewhere when the planet's available to you, and you can pretty much get any climate any time of the year you want. You just need to go there.
why would an American filmmaker want to go to a distant land when they can film it nearby and not worry about traveling the whole crew or some cast members to the other country? Would that be more complicated than just find a place nearby?
Yeah, no question. You want to do the simplest thing possible. So if there's no motivation, if there's no incentive, then you just go right outside your door. But today there are just so many motivations. Are either crews available, or there are aggressive crews, or there are crews with unique talents. They do wire work, or they do something, fight choreography or something that's really unique to them, or the location is just so unique. I mean, look at what New Line did with Fellowship of the Rings. They went to New Zealand not because it was the most convenient, but it was a fresh look. It hadn't been seen before in motion pictures. They had a workforce there that lent itself to putting together this huge special effects company that's now become one of the biggest special effects companies on the planet. It had an eager workforce, and there were just multiple incentives to go there. The currency value was appealing, and so forth. So all those things are taken into considerations. The the line producer is and unit production manager is responsible for weighing out all the advantages for shooting all or part of the picture in different parts of the planet. So that's what they do. I mean, even Iceland put together their big post-production facilities. Even though people wouldn't want to go there to shoot most of the
Mm,
year,
yeah.
they realized that, and so they put post-production facilities together that were really quite state-of-the-art, and a 10% production incentive program, and now they've got lots of business rolling in and out of Iceland.
Wow, that's wonderful. The Baltic Media Film and Media School, one of the largest film schools in the Northern Europe, located in Estonia. He's also putting together like digital media center, and we're trying to talk with them as well, collaborate with building the studio, how they can benefit from it, how we can benefit from the school being nearby. How do you see like the film school that you are in Mumbai, India, uh, having advantage of a studio being right there, or you being in the studio basically?
Oh yeah, it's huge. Probably 30 or 40% of our student body are here because we're located in the middle of a studio environment. So they have the advantage of excuse me of labs and equipment and film processing and crews and guest lecturers and all of those things that are associated with really bringing hyper vitality into a film school arena that comes with being proximate to a big studio.
Right. An important question, important question for us is to see why is it even important for a small country like Estonia to get into the mainstream of filmmaking, like going through American distribution or some other window in the world to distribute films globally and to make marketable films. I understand that that would create a brand or brand presence for the country as well, but doesn't it seem impossible for a small place like Estonia to make a difference?
Well, yeah, I don't think building a studio there guarantees that all at once you're going to start making marketable films or pictures that are going to interest major global distributors necessarily. But putting a studio together can draw in motion picture projects that get done there. If you look at New Zealand, they didn't necessarily begin making better pictures, but all at once they brought in hundreds of millions of U.S. dollars every year in new gross national product, which was certainly better for the country, and has put New Zealand on the map, and given another reason for tourists to go there and a place for people to visit. So overall, it's very important. Same thing with Australia. Only in Australia's case, because of bringing in the studio and having Warner Brothers and Universal and other people in and out of there on a regular basis, it did have an effect on their filmmakers beginning to make more commercial films and having a relationship with distributors that could take their films out wide.
Right. Well, in a way, the film market really builds a country's brand presence. I still remember taking the Western classes in university and learned that the role of Mexicans, for example, that what it was in the Westerns and still probably is the same. That if Estonians don't build somehow their role into film, then the system itself creates a prototype of what an Estonian is, how Estonians are perceived through the major film media. So I think we should take advantage of this to try to put a hand in there a bit and influence who we are, and is that even possible, or does that just happen? Prototypes just come about by somebody's view of seeing what we are.
Well, I don't know. So often in motion pictures, though the pictures are shot in Estonia, they may be actually cheating an earlier period in Germany or an earlier period in wherever, So they may be going for a certain look that just happens to be in Estonia. Somebody looking at the film would have to wait for the end credits to even know that it was shot in Estonia. So it wouldn't necessarily promote the Estonian brand to consumers, but in the film industry, it would certainly be known. I think it's not widely known that Iceland has a big post-production facility that's used by lots of people, but it still benefits them financially, and it does affect their brand among, the commercial, commerce end of things. But I don't think most consumers know it. They'd have to look at the end credits and and say, "Oh my gosh, they did the post-production of this picture in Iceland."
Right.
So I don't know. I may be missing your point, Jaanus, but unless they were shooting modern-day Estonia and could see Estonian life and so forth, most consumers would know that was really what was happening.
Right. Well, just that we should not be trying to push any Estonian subjects into the major mainstream filmmaking. I understand that, but maybe it happens that some Estonian.
To do that is you have filmmakers coming into your country to make films there. There's now a new opportunity to pitch them Estonian stories, and for Estonian directors and producers to be involved with studios, people with money and distribution, global distribution power, to pitch them projects, and they'll make them. I mean, look what happened with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, for instance. It's these things come about very quickly, but you need to somehow create traffic through Estonia. But right now, there isn't any. So if you develop it, then all at once things will begin to happen.
Right. It seems that one of the most important steps to create that traffic to come here is tax benefits, tax credit system that somehow calls out that it is beneficial to shoot films in Estonia. How do you see? How can we convince? Yeah.
There has to be some kind of financial incentive, or there should be. So it could be much less production cost, or it could be. Tax credits are. You only have tax credits to give for Estonians. So if you offer tax credits for investment in motion pictures, that means if there are people with lots of money in Estonia that might want to put money into pictures, they could do so and receive a tax credit, and that's an easy way to do it. And some production incentive programs are based with tax credits. But then again, there are other ways to do it as well. You can just do it as a production incentive program that it is a certain percentage of the picture's budget that's spent in Estonia, you give back to the producer. And some of the best programs are those. They're easy to calculate and more predictable, and you're not stuck with just appealing to rich Estonians.
Okay, so we don't need to worry too much about just that these incentives will create some jobs, but they are just temporary jobs, and the government doesn't need to worry about paying out lots of money to create those jobs.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. You need to investigate the programs that are in use. There are just so many of them. There are dozens of them around the planet, and figure out which ones would be best for Estonia. If there's a tax program or cash rebate or what it is, or a combination of these, and then someone in a commerce department with the government, or someone that's hired to do a review. Some government that's going to look at these would be the best thing, and then they can determine what the program is, but the incentives are, yeah, to employ people, but it's an amazing thing when someone comes in and spend $5 million to $60 million US dollars in a 3 or a 4 month period of time. That creates, that's a big impact, and it isn't new jobs necessarily, but all at once there are people that are supplying food, there are people that are supplying transportation, there's hotels, there's all the services that that are there, in addition to the people that are being employed and the taxes that are being paid and all of that. And that's why governments get involved in putting these incentive programs together, because they have so many ways to be benefited by the money, large amount of money being spent in a short period of time in their country.
Right. On a little bit different track, would you, as a dean of the largest media school in Asia, have any interest or any benefit from associating with, let's say, a media school in Estonia? Is there anything that you would have to collaborate to some common interest?
Well, sure. We have relationships with film schools all over the planet. So we'd love to have to court a relationship with the film school there as well. We do co-productions. We do students exchange. We do faculty exchange. There's just all kinds of different ways that we engage relationships with other campuses, and we'd be pleased to do that with your campus as well. The challenge could be language. If they don't speak English, there aren't too many Estonian speakers that come to our school. We're in India, but we're an English language-based school, so about 85%, almost, of our students are from India, and 15% are from outside India, but they all speak English.
Baltic Film and Media School is also English-speaking school, so you don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Well, I will have to put you in touch with the right people then. Another question is that what are the main things that we need to do right to send the right signals right from the beginning to the mainstream film industry that we would be taken seriously?
Right. Jaanus?
Yes. You hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
You said that you need to send the right signals to the film industry from the beginning so you'll be taken seriously.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
What are some of those signals that we need to send?
Well, the appeal that you make to them needs to indicate that you know what might motivate them to come to Estonia. And it's easy to figure those out. And you can look at other programs that are successful, see why they're successful, and consider how you would be competing with them to get people to come into Estonia. So it has to do with making sure that you've got crews that will work and locations that may be interesting and unique, and incentive programs and facilities that they're going to be able to get film processed, so you've got a lab somewhere close by, and just all of those kinds of things. And when they see that it's kind of turnkey, then they're motivated to come and check it out personally. So, but you're ready from the time they hit the ground to pick them up and take them to a production office, and they see that you've got the latest movie magic program, and that you've got lists of crews, and you've got cast from Estonia and other areas that are around there that you can supply them with extras and day parts and all of that kind of thing. You know, it's just the typical stuff.
Right. Okay. I know that you have a lot of mainstream filmmaking marketing experience. We're just putting together a marketing plan for the studios to be able to convince the investors that this is a good plan, it is doable, and so forth. What are the main mistakes that marketers make that they go wrong with? Something that we should try to avoid, some pitfalls.
Marketing movies or marketing the studio?
Well, we're talking about marketing the studio at the moment. As
Okay. Well, in marketing the studio, you know, it's great if you have a big partner to come in with you as well. You know, Warner Brothers came into Australia and put together a big program there, but that was after Australia had already kind of made an appeal and made it easy for studios to come in and start shooting there. And then once they become familiar with an area and they want to become partners. But like anything, it's keeping it simple, keeping it easy, and you know, real obvious. So they look at the 2 or 3 reasons why they have to film in Estonia, and it's very compelling. And they come there and they see how obvious the program is, and they start using it. It just takes one shoot to you know, and their successful experience to bring in other productions then after that.
Right.
They all just follow suit.
But how would we convince or prove to the investor that this is going to happen? Something that he should be able to see right away from the plan that we are presenting.
Well, like anything, you've got to look at where pictures are being shot now that are location pictures, and why they go there, and then, you know, look at those incentive programs, model your incentive program after that, and you should be able to calculate fairly close as to the kind of business that would be coming into Estonia, and when they would be able to recoup, and those kinds of things. You know, lots of people want to have Hawaii. If a picture is supposed to be in Hawaii, they need to shoot it so it looks like Hawaii, but they more typically go to Thailand to do it. You know, why is that? And the reason is that there's a production incentive program there. There are good crews, and it's just even though it's further away in most instances, Thailand is just less expensive and easier, and so they go there instead. So why would they go to Estonia? You know, you just look for those same reasons. You have locations that are going to appeal to people, and you have studios that are going to appeal to people, and there's economic reasons for there to go there, for people to go there. So you just look at comparables. You look at your competition, see how you stack up against them, and realize that there'll be a certain number of people that will come to the studio, but initially, because no one's doing it now, because there is no studio, the big thing is going to be when your first picture comes in, and making sure that they have a good experience, and then after that, the others follow.
Would you see that majors would want to come to shoot in a studio that has at first, let's say, one soundstage or 2 sound stages, or would the industry rather see one finished complex with 6 or 7 sound stages and the whole infrastructure in place?
Well, yeah, sure. Having everything there in place to start with is great, but it's also risky. So I would, I think the most sane approach would probably be to have your base operations there and look at what the big incentives are for someone coming in and having those in place, and then bring them in, and once they start coming, they can say, gee, it would be great if we had a Panavision office right here on the lot, or it'd be good if Aeroflex had an office here, or it'd be good if we had a second lab, or it'd be great if you had special effects facilities that were closer, animated special effects facilities, or whatever it is, they could say, gee, if you had a giant sound stage, and they would give you the dimensions of what they were thinking, or something that would accommodate water, or whatever, that would make a big difference. And in fact, we would come here twice in the next 3 years with pictures that are already slated. And then you can kind of build to suit in that way, so that you don't build something on what today's need is and find out tomorrow that it doesn't quite fit.
Okay.
So you build the basics and fundamentals, the foundational stuff today, and then once they start rolling through, then you build out according to their commitments and preferences. That's what I'd suggest.
Okay. Makes sense. You sent me about a week ago a study that was done about Estonia not having any bank financing involved in the filmmaking. If we wanted to ever tap into that system of completion bond and the bank and all of this, how do you see that in Europe? Is that widely used in Europe, and how would we go about using that system?
Well, the answer is yes. It is widely used, but the small to medium-sized filmmakers, because Europe is predominantly socialist, they receive financing from the government. So the government kind of is involved in providing money and guaranteeing the completion of the films. And it's just a mess. It's one of the biggest reasons why there aren't more successful projects that come out of Europe. Because the government doesn't really know what public taste is. They're not in the motion picture entertainment business, and consequently it's crazy. If you look at the UK, they have a very vibrant filmmaking ability there, but not many successful pictures come out of there. They just get made in the UK by producers that come from the US or Australia. And much of the reason is that the money that comes for them, primarily through their lottery system, goes for pictures that are not successful. And they've been doing this for almost 20 years, and they still can't, So
Right.
yeah, it's important to have, if there's an entertainment bank, and there are ways to do that. There are people that can come and help set up. The whole bank isn't an entertainment bank. You just need a division that understands entertainment banking. And like most banking, banks don't take risks. That's how they stay in business. So they just need to understand the kind of collateral that is as solid as any other major industry collateral that's used in the entertainment industry, and how you securitize that collateral. And the same thing, if there are major insurance companies in Estonia, then those insurance companies can expand their business as well by getting into the completion bond industry. just like the major insurance companies in the UK and the US and Australia and Japan get into this business as well. You know, Film Finances is one of the oldest bonding companies anywhere. It's in the UK, and it's underwritten by Lloyd's of London. Um, but you know, on the other hand, you can use existing bonding companies and just look for building up or enabling one of your banks in Estonia to have an entertainment department. It would sure be beneficial for your producers in Estonia.
Right. We just had a meeting with the business enterprise of Estonia, and and we need to go through different like government institutions like the Ministry of Culture and so forth to deal with all of the development of the studio as well. So we can definitely bring those business principles to them, and why would you see they would want to or should want to participate in the business side of things also more than just the cultural things?
Well, the cultural benefits are fine, but that's usually a fringe element that most government bodies look at. They're trying to bring in, they want to increase the funds that roll through their country. They want money to come in, and that's what they need. And how can they do that? Should they be making cars? Should they, crank up a steel business? How do they promote commerce in their country? And that's why these incentive programs come in, because there's so much money spent in a short period of time. It is a huge boost to any country's economy to have that kind of money spent into it. You know, if there was some way to bring in a 9-figure spend, $100 million or more into Estonia, that would make everybody sit up and try and figure out how they would be able to devise a plan that would make that happen. They would care less that it's entertainment. They just would care about doing anything legal that would bring that kind of money into the country. So, I mean, look at the impact that it's had on New Zealand and Australia with their programs, or even Indonesia or Thailand, or look at Hawaii. I mean, Hawaii has a huge tourist trade, but the motion pictures that have been made there since they put their incentive program together has brought in huge amounts of money.
Right.
Canada, it's amazing. They just re-upped a new incentive program for Canada because they're limited in the kinds of things that they can do, and they're in an area that's has weather problems and so forth that would limit the amount of productions that are done there, and so they re-crank up incentive programs that bring in hundreds of millions of dollars a year in production into Canada, and it's a mainstay for them.
Right.
It's huge. It's tax revenues, huge, money that's being spent in food and housing and employing people and all of that stuff.
Do you have contacts that can make this happen, to bring in the first project into Estonia, and is that a realistic thing that we should pursue to make happen?
Well, sure. I have contacts, but there's no magic about that. You wouldn't have to do much work to find out how you lure them in. You go to the places that are making the most motion pictures, so studios and major independent production companies like Hyde Park and Castle Rock and Imagine and Jerry Bruckheimer and others, and you literally pitch them, say you should be shooting here and here's why, and then they begin looking at all of their projects with an eye towards using your facilities, your country, whatever, in order to get the benefits that you could give them.
Okay. So if Estonia takes these major steps to desire to get into that system, would you be there to consult and help where there is a need?
I'm here now.
Yes, I see that. I'm very grateful for that. Um, okay.
I'm available. I'm in India for another 14 months or so. But even here, I'm other places on the planet on a month-to-month basis, depending on what I have going on. So I travel quite a bit and do a lot of work in different places. So if you need, I can certainly help out, and I'm happy to do it just on a relationship basis that we have. I can point you to different people and help expedite the work you're doing.
Great. Would you see any interest in India to do any collaboration with Estonia, co-productions or anything like that? Or why would they have such interest in
They wouldn't.
country?
There's no reason to go to Estonia.
Right.
That's why you put an incentive program together. And there's no reason to go to Iceland for sure. Who would go to Iceland for any reason? Well, they had to think about it for a while and finally came up with, oh my gosh, you can do post-production anywhere and you can do it, around the clock because it's all indoors. So why don't we put together, post-production facilities? And that was their big answer. And they came up with an incentive for just amazing facilities plus the incentive program, and that filled up their facilities. So it's a matter of motivating people to go there.
Right.
They need you may have locations, but what's the access to those locations? What's the housing and food like? And what's the economic benefit? And all of those things. You may have a great studio, but what makes it really great? What makes it so unique, so different? Are there unique sound dampening processes that you use, and you have more grip facilities, more, it's just a matter of making it so compelling that people want to come and work there.
Exactly. One thing that I always keep in mind is any kind of project or business project or personal project that I have is the project itself, because it often tends to happen that people start to hire friends instead of hiring professionals, and forgetting the focus of the thing, and that is so important. How do you see that something can really go wrong if people start putting themselves personally in front rather than putting the project in front?
Well, there's a tendency to try and swap favors and those kinds of things. You've got to keep away from that. But some of the tendency for bringing in friends is that you know them and you trust them and whatever, which is not a bad idea, but you've got to make sure you don't compromise professionalism and abilities and capacities and all of that. You can certainly tank a project in a hurry if you load it up with people, overhead and so forth, that are not going to enable the project but just encumber the project. So you got to be careful with it, no question. Jaanus, I've got just about 3 minutes left before I've got to go.
Okay.
I've got something happening at 8:30. So
Okay.
you've got a kind of an important question or two left when we go over this.
I have some questions that might send me, but I think you've already gone through some of that. That how do you see, like, as an outsider, as the European situation, and you talked about that a bit. How realistic is it? Is this building of the studio for the large, like for majors, mini majors to come here, for like Fox and Warner? So that is
Well,
his.
it all has to do with incentives. You know, there some of the finest sound stages anywhere are just right outside of London, and they're not full all the time because they're horrifically expensive, and the tax situation is crazy, and um, the the euro is the relationship euro to dollar wise is there's no motivation there. Licenses and permits are often a problem. Traveling in and out of there, and traffic and all the rest of it are a hassle. And so, you know, you weigh all of those things. You know, you can look at the positive things that Prague has done in bringing productions there, and you know, they used a combination of incentives and inexpensive labor and crew availability and unique locations and ease in and out travel wise and those kinds of things. Those are all real beneficial.
Okay.
You know, Russia has tried to bring in film, you know, for filming there in Russia, and they have not been very successful because the red tape is so challenging, and the security is so bad, and you know, there are just so many problems.
Hmm.
And I don't know what it's like in Estonia, but you know, some of the benefits of being in a place like New Zealand or Australia or Japan are that those aren't problem areas. You know, you don't see many films shot in Italy. It's a beautiful, beautiful country, but there are such, for lack of a politically correct word, union problems in Italy that people don't shoot there very often.
How is the situation in Asia and in India? Is China coming along as well?
China's making big progress, and the Beijing studios are really good. But you know, the unique thing there is that they're packed. They make lots of motion pictures in China. In India, you know, we make more motion pictures than anyone in the world. We release 1,200 pictures a year, and over 90% of them make their money back during theatrical release.
But how is it? How is it for outsiders? American DreamWorks, I know, located some facilities there and so forth.
Yeah, it's true, but you know, we're not wooing them in because we're packed on our own. We don't need extra production.
Okay. So Estonians would have nothing to do in India.
Well, no, you can come here and shoot, and there is, you know, incentive to do that, but you need the locations that are unique to this place, and the economies here, I don't know if they'd be any better than they would be in Estonia, but there's no production incentive program that's been put together because, you know, they don't. It's already a real robust business for them.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think 3
What
minutes.
they
3
have
minutes
done
is
is
over.
put
Yeah.
together animation, you know, big animation capacities here, and special effects capacities. That's animated special effects capacities. So those are huge, and they're busy.
Is it possible for Estonia to tap into any of that animation creation and so effects creation in India?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. In fact, that'd be a good thing, I would think, for Estonia simply because it's done indoors. So you could be producing summer, spring, and fall, even though there are meters of snow outside the window. There are people inside that are there's 22 frames a second, and you multiply that times an hour and 20-minute motion picture. That's a lot of frames being done, and it employs lots of people, and that's big work. Avatar was primarily a digital experience, and so many pictures. I don't know if you saw 2012.
I haven't, but yeah.
But here's a motion picture that again is so much digital, and that's that's perfect for Estonia, I would think, to put together those kinds of studios.
Yeah,
and those, you work with people in the U.S. or Australia or the U.K. or wherever, and it's all online. I don't know how fiber is in Estonia, and if you have the bandwidth to accommodate it, but if you do, then you can transfer. If you can transfer heavy bandwidth files in and out of Estonia, then that could be.
Oh yeah, that is not a problem at all. Yeah. Well, you're
then you can work on both live action motion pictures as well as 2D and 3D features.
Okay. Well, John, thank you so much. You are 7 minutes late, at least, to your next thing starting. But I hope we can do this again, and there's more people involved. Maybe we can get the dean of Estonian Film School, or some other people, whoever might be interested, and my partners, Mait and Erki, to participate, and
that'd be great.
And we can torture you more.
It's huge. It's huge business. It's a matter of tapping into it in a smart way, in a predictable way. The thing to remember is that it is a business, and the people that are doing multiple pictures a year, they have it pretty well wired, and they look for the best opportunities, and there are certainly ways to rope them in. Just a matter of putting it together in those ways.
Okay.
And there are location. There's a group that meets each year around the American Film Market time, so around January, that just deals with distant locations and incentive programs and so forth. It's really well attended. You might want to consider going there this next year. You've been to AFM before.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, those things are very, very useful. John, thank you. May we translate this interview and put it in a newspaper, or is that
anything you want, my friend?
Anything I want? Well, no, we'll ask you for permission for everything we do. So, but thank you so much for your time,
All right. Thanks. Good chatting with you. Sorry we couldn't talk, Michael. Maybe next time in the future.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.